Welcome to Exploration Overland. My name is Zach, and today I'm going to get you up to speed on what has been happening with the D100. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And yes, we are going to talk about the D100. There have been a lot of people that have expressed a ton of interest in wanting to see more content about the D100. And honestly, guys, I have been doing a lot of stuff to the D100 and I haven't been filming it. As you guys will remember from my update video a couple weeks ago, the month of June was a really bad month for Lindsay and I. A lot of things happened to us, and it was just a lot of waiting, and I couldn't get out on the trail as much as I wanted to. During that time, though, while I was waiting for parts and things to get fixed, I was working on the D100. And because of all the people that expressed interest in wanting to see more content about the D100, honestly, guys, I need to catch you up to speed before we can continue. Something else you probably all have noticed, and hopefully it sounds way clearer than it has been before, is I have a new mic. It is a new wireless mic that I'm hoping is going to help with you guys hearing me and what I am saying instead of me trying to shout to the camera over a bunch of different noise. Now, we are in my backyard, so welcome. The reason we're in the backyard and not talking in front of the truck is somebody down the road from us is having some work done on their house, and there are trucks going up and down with trailers all day today so far. And it is really, really loud. And for the life of me, even with the garage shut, there's not enough light and you still hear all the trucks. So we're in the backyard. It's much calmer, much quieter, and it's a lot more peaceful. So without further ado, let's get into what has been happening with the D100. And then afterwards, we'll get into the future of the D100 because I do have a plan for this truck. Okay, so a quick little recap on where I left you guys with the D100. Last time I left you guys with the D100 was an update video that it wasn't running anymore, it had caught on fire, and I had started to gut the truck. And you guys probably saw it with the fenders, the front fenders were off of the truck. In the state it is now, the fenders are still off the truck. They are off the truck, but I have been working on them. I have been chiseling with a hammer and an actual chisel 50 plus years of road grime, oil, dirt, just crap off of the inner liners of the fenders. They were just coated in a ton of road grime, and it was really gross, and it was going to make it really hard to paint it and make it look good and things like that because the road grime, the paint wasn't going to stick to it. So for about 2 weeks, I sat there and hand chiseled because I don't have an air ratchet and I wanted to do it very carefully. I hand chiseled off of both the fenders all the road grime. So now the fenders are ready to be sanded a little bit, and then we can go ahead and paint them. Once the inner part of the fenders are painted, they are going to go back onto the truck, which will be awesome. Now, sticking with the outside of the truck, if you will, underneath the hood, everything but the brake cylinder is gone. There is stories behind it all, but we're going to get into it. I have removed the drive shaft. I have removed the transmission, and the engine removed itself. So, one day when I was climbing into the back of the truck to grab one of the fenders so I could finish it, as I jumped into the back of the truck to pick up the fender and lower it out, there was a massive bang and a sound of something heavy hitting the ground. That something heavy was the engine. Ever since I removed the transmission, I had the engine, when I started to remove the transmission, wasn't really sitting right in its mounts, so I had put a ratchet strap under it to help balance it out, and it had been fine. Well, apparently ever since I removed the transmission, one thing I didn't know was the driver's side engine mount was broke. The bolt had sheared off, and it literally has this rubber mount that sits between the engine and the actual frame mount, and that bolt had sheared off that was in it, so nothing was actually holding the engine in on that side. And so after I removed the transmission, gravity just kind of took its own advantage, and after about a month of no transmission connected to it, it took me jumping in the back for it to pretty much snap the top of the other bolt off on the passenger side engine mount, and the engine fell backwards and out of the truck onto the floor. Good thing the engine was crap anyways and had a cracked cylinder, but it was one way of getting the engine out that I wasn't planning on doing. I planned to have taken a cherry picker, pulled it out, but the universe had another plan for me. So the engine is out. It is actually sitting off to the side of the truck now, waiting to be trashed. So now the engine bay is completely cleared out, but where the brake cylinder is. And what my goals are now is to strip the engine, the firewall down. I'm going to strip all the paint off of it, clean it up. There were some areas on both the passenger and driver side where the fenders actually connect that were covered in road grime too, that I had to hand chisel off. So those are cleaned up, but we are going to, now that the engine's out of my way, clean up the firewall so I can paint it, which is going to be awesome. But that is where the truck kind of sits with the engine compartment and the outside. Not much else has changed on the outside. She's still yellow. She's just very dusty and dirty because obviously, guys, I've been working on it. Now let's go to the inside of the truck. A lot has changed within the inside of the D100. I have removed the floor pans. They were completely rusty, especially the driver's side one, and they just, every time I'd step into it to do something, you could just feel it start to bend more and more underneath me. So I have cut them out. I also have I have actually cut out the square to where the body mounts to the frame. I've cut it out. I have just not removed that square yet because the new floor pans that I have purchased, and I'm waiting for them to come in, have new holes for bolting it to the frame, and I got to finish cutting out more of the floor because I made it a little short on purpose. So when I put those in there, I can mark how big it needs to be so we can finish cutting it out, and then we can weld in those new floor pans. The other thing you'll notice is the trans cover tunnel, or the cover for the trans tunnel, has been removed. I have not gotten rid of it. We are going to modify it because we're going to turn this into a manual transmission, a floor transmission, which we'll get into when I tell you what the build process is going to be. But I have removed it. It's sitting in the back of the truck. Don't worry, guys. We're going to fix it. And then I have been cleaning up the inside of the firewall. There was actually some surface rust. It wasn't rusting away anything, but I wanted to tackle it. And so I have been cleaning that up. I had to remove where the steering column connects to the firewall of the truck. That's kind of one of the supports. Had to remove it because one side was cracked. There have been a lot of things in this process, guys, that I am sitting here going, how did this thing not kill me when I was driving it? Somehow the engine mount was broke, all these things. Somehow I survived driving it, but as I keep digging, it just gets worse. It's not great. The other thing I've been working on is starting to figure out how I want to fix these holes that are in the inside walls of the truck. There were two of them. It's where they had some speakers. I don't think these were factory holes because they look roughly cut and very badly done, but they are super rusty. And I'm not putting speakers there. I have a different idea for a sound system for the truck because where those speakers go into, it just goes straight down and pretty much out of the truck. It's exposed. All that in there is really rusty. So I'm working on figuring out how I like to do it. I'm probably just going to end up cutting out this hole and then putting a new piece of sheet metal over it and welding it in place and cleaning it up and making it look really, really nice. But the inside of the cab is where I have been doing a ton of my work, guys. Cutting out floor pans, grinding things down. On the driver's side door, I have removed the entire glass, the arch that holds the glass when the window is rolled up, because that needed to be cleaned up so I can paint it. I have removed pretty much all the inner door components, but the door and all the actual door latch itself, I have removed it all. because parts were just old. You know, it's 50 something years old, guys. Parts are worn out, they need to be replaced, and we're going to. But that is the update on the truck. That is what has been happening. I have been cutting and grinding, and things have been falling out on their own accord. And so it's kind of a bit of a mess. Here in a few weeks, I got to take all the old stuff that has fallen off and removed to the dump so I can get rid of it all. Then once all that's removed, we get to start really getting into the nitty-gritty of cleaning up the cab of the truck. Which, this is going to progress us to our next segment of what is the future for the D100.
The future.
For some of you, you're going to get really excited about this. Some of you are going to hate me for it. Honestly, it's my truck, my build. I don't care. But the future of the D100 is we are going to turn this into an expedition rig. What do I mean by an expedition rig? Because a lot of you in your head all of a sudden have jumped to these massive, huge builds that can go super far off-road and can no. Tone that back just a little bit. Think more in terms of an Australian style touring rig. Very clean, very modest, but can go a long distance on, you know, not overly difficult trails, and you could sustain and be able to see a lot of different things. Picture that. Also this will help give you an idea of the style in which I'm going for. What we are going to do with the D100 is, first and foremost, we're going to finish cleaning up the cab and the body of the truck. We're going to get rid of all the surface rust. We're going to get ready to prep it so it can be repainted. We're going to redo the entire interior and update it and give it new life, some fresh life to everything. Because I love the body style of this truck. I absolutely love this truck, and I want to make it better because a lot of the things that were inside of it before and just little things on the outside just were so old, guys, it was falling apart. Obviously, it's 50 something years old. It's expected, quite frankly. But still keeping it looking historic, keeping it still that old school truck feel, which is going to be great. That is the whole thing. One thing I want you to know is I'm not going to do a ton of body modifications to the truck. I'm not going to make it truly look completely different with huge modifications and cutting fenders. No. I want it to still look like it does today. I want it to still look like an old 1969 Dodge D100 that has just been modified slightly to become an expedition rig. I want it to still look like a historic vehicle because I love the way it looks. So that's first and foremost. We're going to fix all that. We're going to do the interior, the whole 9 yards. And that is where we're going to start in the entire build process. Next, the fun part. Because I want it to be an expedition rig, we have to convert it to 4-wheel drive. It's not 4-wheel drive at the moment. It is a 2-wheel drive old farm truck. Easy enough. We're going to chassis swap it. Yes, I know I could easily get axles, the transfer case, all the things that I need to convert it on the frame it is on now. Yes, I could. But what I don't want is a complete Frankenstein truck. I don't want a bunch of aftermarket parts that are all different and everything just kind of becomes Frankenstein. I want to put it on a more modern meaning late 80s, early 90s truck frame, so that parts are a little bit easier to come by, and it is already built to be a 4-wheel drive. It's going to make my life a heck of a lot easier. It's going to cost less, if not close to the same as it would for everything else. And then being able to update and refresh parts from a late 80s or early 90s truck is going to be a hell of a lot easier than Frankensteining the truck. I don't like the idea of Frankensteining it because if something goes wrong, I can't just easily replace a piece. I have to actually be more specific, if that kind of makes sense. But we're going to chassis swap this. I want to take the entire truck, put it on a new frame and chassis, new axles, things of that nature, because it is just going to make, like I said, my life easier. And I think it's going to turn out really, really nice. When it comes to drivetrain, okay, I don't plan on using the donor vehicle's drivetrain. I want to make this build bulletproof. Bulletproof meaning I don't want to be having a ton of mechanical issues shortly after completing the build because of an old worn out transmission, engine, things of that nature. So we're going to get a whole new drivetrain, brand new. I am looking at doing a 3rd gen Hemi, so a 5.7 bored out to be a 392. So we're going to be looking at roughly like 500 horsepower. I want to pair it to a 6-speed manual transmission. It's going to be a floor transmission paired with a older Power Wagon transfer case. Yes, that is what I'm looking to do, and I have looked it up and it is possible to do it. So that is the route that I am looking to go with the drivetrain of the truck. Like I said, I want something new. The engine's going to be fuel injected because I do not want to be futzing with a carburetor. I really hate carburetors. They're annoying to futz with. And because I want it to be a long distance expedition rig, I don't want to have issues. I want to try and make this a little bit more fuel efficient. It's a old 60s truck that's a block, and I'm going to make it heavier. It's not going to be the greatest fuel efficient vehicle in the world, but it's going to be slightly better. But that is the plan with the drivetrain and things like that. Sorry about that, guys. My camera battery died on me suddenly. It just stopped. Okay, so what are we going to change on the truck to make it more of an expedition rig? Besides chassis swapping it, which is going to bring the truck's ride height up just a little bit, we'll end up doing some kind of suspension upgrade, so it'll probably sit just a little bit higher, and so we can put, I don't know, something like a 33 to a 35 inch tire under it. Like I said, I'm not modifying the fender, so if a 35 can't fit, a 35 can't fit. And I will find a 33 or something of that nature that is going to fit within the fender itself. I don't want tire sticking out of the fender. I want it to still stay tucked up under the fender and look really, really clean. So it will be lifted up just a little bit, but not godly. Second, we are going to put a front off-road bumper on this truck. Now, yes, I do realize that this is a 69 Dodge, and they don't have really off-road bumpers for this, unless you were to find some old Power Wagon bumper from the 60s. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for something that's a little tougher and tasteful to the truck. So we are going to probably fabricate or find somebody that can help fabricate a front bumper for this truck that can have a winch sitting in it, because I do want this truck to have a winch. It's an expedition rig. I want it to have a winch, and I want the bumper to look tasteful. I don't want it to be a hideous eyesore on the front of the truck. But I want something that is going to be able to, if it was to hit something or something was to hit it, it could take it and it's not going to damage the truck itself. A few things that I'm thinking of doing to the truck, and I said I'm debating, is sticking to the theme of keeping it Australian style in the essence of how it looks, and putting some side front bumper protective bars across the front fenders of the truck. I said I'm thinking about it. I didn't say I'm going to do it, but it's something I'm thinking about. Just if something was to brush it, it will hit the bar before the fender and keep it protected. Though this truck is from the 60s and is tough, body parts can still crumple, and I want to protect it as much as I can, because trying to replace body parts isn't as easy as a modern vehicle, obviously. So I'm doing some debating about that. Though this truck, I want it capable of doing a level 4 trail at most. Like, that is the hardest trail that thing has to go on. So I do not expect it to be hitting rocks and having to scrape over them, but I want that protection under there. And we'll be adding some other body armor protection underneath the truck as the build progresses, once we have moved it to a new chassis, so we can protect things like the drive shaft and critical components underneath it all just in case. Everything is just in case because, like I said, guys, this truck, I want it to be bulletproof. I want it to not have issues. I want it to be reliable out there on the trail because I do plan to use this. It's not a build to be a mall crawler and to sit in my garage and just look pretty. I hate vehicles that are like that. If you have one of those, get out and go take it for a drive. Take it outside. That is the purpose of it. This truck is still to be used as a truck. I still want it to be able to haul crap. I still want it to be able to go out on an adventure and take me places I haven't gone and be able to overland out of it, to sustain myself. So, with that in mind, the back of the truck will change ever so slightly. I am thinking, once again, I'm not planning on doing anything, but I am thinking about it, is doing something with either the bed of the truck itself. The other route that I am looking at is putting an Australian canopy on the back. I'm sticking with the theme of an Australian build here and putting one of those canopy systems, Train canopy systems, on the back of the truck. I have a company in mind. I've already talked to the company and people that are, what do you call them, the dealers for the company. It can be done. I'm debating because the tray part would allow me to still use it as a truck and haul things around, and then I can throw the canopy onto the back of it and use it for my expeditions, and inside the canopy would be my kitchen setup, my fridge. I would have storage, recovery gear, everything, spare tire mounted to the back. I could put a roof rack and have my rooftop tent put on top of it. That is a route that I am looking to go. I'm thinking about it, but I have got my mind open to other things to where I can keep the bed of the truck also and deck out the bed of the truck and make it look really nice. The goal is to make this look really, really clean, but still look historic, guys. This is going to be a kind of a one-of-a-kind build, and I want it to stand out in a crowd. You know, I have a Jeep. I go places, the Jeep, depending on where I'm at, stands out. Otherwise, it just looks like any other Jeep, which is fine. But I want my truck to look and stand out more than anything else because it's going to be a unique build. But that is what we got planned for the truck. That is the future of the D100. I am going to bring you guys along for almost every step of the journey, and I say almost because if I have to send the truck away somewhere for someone else to do the work, if I am allowed to film it, I will. If I can't, you guys will see it when it comes back. But I plan to do as much of this build on my own as I can. But there it is, guys. That is what has been going on with the D100, and that is the future of the D100. I am so excited for this build, and I hope you guys are as well. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, guys. It helps me out immensely. Otherwise, I will see you all later on, and we will have more footage of the D100 coming in the future. Take care, guys.